Hyunwoo Kim walked through the massive halls of the Galactic Council building. His black diplomatic uniform felt heavy on his shoulders. For 30 years, he had served as Earth's main representative to the Council. Today would be his last day in that role. The Council chamber stretched high above him like a crystal mountain. Thousands of alien representatives sat in floating pods arranged in perfect circles. Each species had their own section. The humans sat in the bottom ring, the least important position in the entire chamber. Hyunwoo took his seat and waited. Around him, the other human diplomats looked nervous. They all knew what was coming. The vote had been scheduled for months. Earth would lose its mining rights in the Kepler star systems. Those rights would go to the Altarian Empire instead. The Altarians were blue-skinned giants with 4 arms and red eyes. They owned most of the galaxy's trade routes. They had been council members for over 5,000 years. Humans had only been members for 30 years. Speaker Veltara floated to the center of the chamber. She was a Centaurian with gray skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Her species had founded the Galactic Council 10,000 years ago. She spoke in a voice that echoed through every translator in the room. Today, we vote on Resolution 47 Alpha. The Kepler mining systems will be transferred from human control to Altarian management. This decision comes after careful review of human mining practices. Hyunwoo stood up. His voice carried clearly through the chamber. Speaker Veltara, I request permission to address the council before the vote. Several alien species made sounds of annoyance. Humans rarely spoke during council sessions. Most members preferred it that way. Permission granted, Ambassador Kim. You have 5 minutes. Hyunwoo walked to the speaking platform in the center of the chamber. He looked up at thousands of alien faces staring down at him. Some looked bored, others looked hostile, none looked friendly. Honored members of the council, he began. For 30 years, humanity has served this council faithfully. We have provided military forces for your wars. We have shared our technology freely. We have paid our tribute taxes without complaint. We have fought in 17 different conflicts on behalf of council members. Human soldiers died defending worlds we had never seen before. We did this because we believed in the council's mission of peace and cooperation. We have also provided resources. Earth supplies 40% of the rare metals used in council technology. Human colonies produce 60% of the food consumed in core world systems. Our research has led to advances in medicine, engineering, and space travel that benefit every species here. Hyunwoo paused and looked directly at the Altarian section. And yet, despite our contributions, we are told that we are not worthy to manage our own mining operations. We are told that the Altarians, who have contributed nothing but demands and complaints, deserve what we have built. An Altarian representative stood up. His name was Korvash, and he was known for his hatred of humans. The humans are too violent and unpredictable to manage such important resources. They cannot be trusted with operations that affect galactic stability. Unpredictable? Hyunwoo's voice grew louder. We have never broken a single agreement with this council. We have never failed to meet a deadline or quota. Our mining operations in the Kepler systems have increased production by 300% since we took control. Violence? Hyunwoo continued. The Altarians have started 4 wars in the past decade alone. They have enslaved 6 different species. They use forced labor in their own mining operations. Yet they call us violent. Speaker Veltara raised her hand. Ambassador Kim, please limit your remarks to the matter at hand. I am speaking to the matter at hand, Hyunwoo replied. The matter at hand is justice. The matter at hand is whether this council values contribution or simply favors certain species over others. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several species began shouting at once. The Altarians demanded that Hyunwoo be removed. The Rigelians accused him of being disrespectful. Only a few smaller species remained quiet. Speaker Veltara called for order. The human ambassador has exceeded his time limit. We will now proceed to the vote. The voting process was quick and brutal. Each species had voting power based on their age of membership and their economic contribution. The Altarians and their allies controlled 60% of the votes. The result was never in doubt. Resolution 47 Alpha passes by a vote of 847 to 312. The Kepler mining systems are hereby transferred to Altarian control. Implementation will begin immediately. Hyunwoo remained standing as the vote was announced. He had expected this result, but hearing it still felt like a punch to the stomach. Around him, other human representatives looked defeated. Speaker Veltara began to move on to the next item of business, but Hyunwoo's voice cut through the chamber again. Before this session continues, I have an announcement to make on behalf of the Terran Federation. Ambassador Kim, you are out of order. Please return to your seat. I will return to my seat, Speaker Veltara, but not in this chamber. The room fell silent. Even the floating pod seemed to stop moving. Hyunwoo spoke clearly and slowly, making sure every word was recorded by the Council's official translators. The Terran Federation formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We will honor no treaties, pay no tribute taxes, and recognize no authority beyond our own sovereignty. The silence stretched for several seconds. Then the chamber exploded into chaos. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded explanations. Others called for Hyunwoo's arrest. Speaker Veltara's voice boomed over the noise. Ambassador Kim, no species has ever withdrawn from the Council. Such an action is unprecedented and potentially illegal. Hyunwoo smiled for the first time in months. Speaker Veltara, humanity has always specialized in doing things that others consider impossible. We bid you farewell. He turned and walked toward the exit. The other human representatives followed him. Behind them, the chaos continued to grow. Security forces moved to block the exits, but Hyunwoo held up a small device. I would not recommend attempting to detain us, he said calmly. This device is broadcasting our withdrawal announcement to every human colony in the galaxy. Any attempt to harm Council representatives would be considered an act of war. The security forces hesitated. Speaker Veltara made a quick gesture, and they stepped aside. As the humans left the chamber, Hyunwoo activated a second device hidden in his jacket. It sent a coded message to every human military base, colony, and ship in known space. The message contained just 2 words: Protocol Exodus. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Jin Ho Park received the transmission in his office at Luna Base. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. He immediately activated the base's emergency communication system. Within minutes, every human military commander in the galaxy received their orders. The message was simple and direct. All human forces were to withdraw from Council space immediately. All cooperation with non-human military units was to cease. All humans working on joint projects were to return to human-controlled territory. On the colony world of New Busan, Governor Mi-kyung Cho was meeting with Altarian trade representatives when her aide burst into the room. He whispered something in her ear and her face went pale. "Gentlemen," she said to the confused Altarians, "this meeting is over. You have 1 hour to leave our planet. Any Altarian ships remaining in our system after that time will be considered hostile." The Altarians began to protest, but Governor Cho had already left the room. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On mining stations, research facilities, and trade posts, humans suddenly announced that all non-human personnel had to leave immediately. The explanations were brief and identical. Earth has withdrawn from the Galactic Council. This facility is now under exclusive human control. Dr. So-Young Lee was working in her laboratory on the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri when the message arrived. She was part of a joint project studying quantum mechanics with scientists from 6 different species. She calmly saved her work, copied all the data to a secure human server, and then deleted everything from the station's main computers. Her alien colleagues demanded to know what she was doing. "I'm sorry," she said, "but this research is now classified as a human military secret. You'll need to find your own transportation back to Council space." Within 6 hours of Hyunwoo's announcement, humanity had effectively vanished from the galactic community. Human ships disappeared from trade routes. Human scientists stopped answering communications. Human colonies closed their borders to all non-human visitors. The immediate reaction from the council was anger and confusion. Emergency sessions were called. Military leaders demanded immediate action to force humanity back into compliance. Economic advisors warned of potential problems, but most council members dismissed these concerns. "Let them go," declared Korvash of the Altarians. "Humanity was always more trouble than they were worth. We will be better off without them." Speaker. Veltara was less confident. "This withdrawal will create complications. Humans controlled significant resources and trade routes. We need to understand the full scope of their operations before we can plan a response." But the Council's investigation soon revealed a disturbing truth. Human involvement in Galactic Sea. 3 months had passed since humanity's dramatic withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened and what it meant. Most council members believed that the humans would eventually return, begging for readmission. They were wrong. Captain Dongmin Choi stood on the bridge of the TFS Independence, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. None of them showed any signs of nervousness, despite the fact that they were about to attempt something that everyone said was impossible. "Captain," reported his navigation officer, "we are approaching the Altarian blockade around Proxima Station. 18 heavy cruisers and 46 fighters are positioned to intercept us." "Thank you, Lieutenant. Communications, please open." A channel to the Altarian commander. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of an Altarian cruiser. Commander Thexvar appeared, his blue skin and red eyes radiating contempt for the human ship approaching his blockade. "Human vessel, you are entering restricted space. Turn around immediately or you will be destroyed." Captain Choi smiled politely. "Commander Thexvar, this is Captain Dongmin Choi of the Terran Federation ship Independence. We are conducting a peaceful mission to evacuate human civilians from Proxima Station. We have no hostile intentions." "There are no human civilians on Proxima Station," Thexvar replied angrily. "All humans were removed from Council space months ago. Your presence here is an act of aggression." "I'm afraid your information is incorrect, Commander. Our sensors detect 347 humans currently held against their will on Proxima Station. We are here to bring them home." Thexvar's face darkened. "You have 30 seconds to turn around, human. After that, my ships will open fire." "Commander, I appreciate your position, but I must decline your suggestion." Captain Choi turned to his crew. "Navigator, set course for Proxima Station. Engineering, activate phase drive on my command." The Altarian commander stared in confusion. "Phase drive? What are you talking about?" "You'll see," Captain Choi replied calmly. "Engineering, activate phase drive now." On the screen, the Altarians watched in shock as the human ship began to shimmer and fade. Within seconds, the Independence became translucent, like a ghost ship floating through space. "All weapons fire!" Thexvar screamed. Dozens of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human ship. Every single attack passed harmlessly through the Independence as if it wasn't there. The ship continued moving forward, completely unaffected by the massive firepower directed at it. "Impossible," whispered the Altarian weapons officer. "Our sensors show the ship is still there, but our weapons can't touch it." Captain Choi's voice came through the communication channel, calm and professional. "Commander Thexvar, the Independence is now operating in a shifted phase of spacetime. We exist partially outside normal reality. Your weapons cannot harm us, and we cannot harm you. We will retrieve our people and leave peacefully." The Independence passed through the Altarian blockade like it was made of empty space. The enemy ships continued firing, but their weapons had no effect whatsoever. Within minutes, the human ship reached Proxima Station. "Station Commander," Captain Choi broadcast, "prepare to transfer 347 human civilians to our ship. You have 10 minutes to comply." The station commander, a nervous Centaurian named Delkoth, could only stare at his screens in disbelief. The human ship was somehow inside his shields, docked to his station, and completely immune to any defensive measures he might take. "How are you doing this?" he demanded. "Science, Commander Delkoth. While your people spent centuries arguing about politics, humans spent their time learning how the universe actually works. Within 10 minutes, all 347 human civilians had been transferred to the Independence. These were people who had been trapped on the station when humanity withdrew from the Council. The Altarians had been holding them as bargaining chips, hoping to force humanity back to the negotiating table. "Transfer complete, Captain," reported the ship's medical officer. "All civilians are safe and healthy." "Excellent. Navigator, set course for human space. Engineering, maintain phase drive until we clear the system." The Independence detached from the station and began moving away. The Altarian fleet followed, still firing uselessly at the ghostly ship. Their weapons continued to pass through empty space. As the Independence reached the edge of the system, Captain Choi made one final broadcast to the Altarian commander. "Commander Thexvar, please inform the Council that humanity appreciates their care of our civilians. In the future, we suggest that you avoid interfering with human operations. As you can see, your current technology is inadequate to stop us." The Independence disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the Altarian fleet staring at empty space. The news of the Independence's mission spread across the galaxy within hours. For the first time, non-human species began to realize that humanity's withdrawal might not be temporary. They had developed technology that made them effectively unstoppable. Admiral Su Jin Han received reports of the Independence's success while planning her own operations. She commanded a fleet of 12 ships all equipped with phase drive technology. Her mission was larger and more ambitious than Captain Choi's single rescue operation. "All ships, this is Admiral Han. Begin Operation Homecoming. Target list includes 14 human colonies that were seized by Council forces after our withdrawal. We will liberate every single human citizen who wishes to return to Federation space." The fleet split into 4 groups, each targeting different systems. They moved simultaneously, appearing without warning at colonies across Council space. Local defense forces tried to intercept them, but their weapons were useless against phase drive technology. On the agricultural world of New Korea, the local Rigelian governor watched helplessly as human ships materialized in his planet's atmosphere. The ships landed in the human settlements and began loading civilians onto transport vessels. "This is piracy," the governor protested over the communication channel. "This is liberation," replied Commander Haewon Park, who was leading the ground operation. "We are removing human citizens from territory that illegally restricts their freedom of movement." The Rigelians tried to stop the evacuation by sending ground troops, but they quickly discovered another human advantage. The Federation soldiers were equipped with personal phase generators that made them as untouchable as their ships. Rigelian weapons fire passed through the human soldiers without effect. Meanwhile, the humans could selectively phase their own weapons back into normal space, making them devastatingly effective against conventional forces. Within 4 hours, every human on New Korea who wanted to leave had been evacuated. The human ships departed as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving the Rigelian forces staring at empty settlements. Similar operations took place across the galaxy. Human fleets appeared at will, extracted their people, and vanished before any meaningful resistance could be organized. Council forces were helpless to stop them, but the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Dr. Yoon Ji-shin worked in her laboratory on the research station orbiting Earth. She was humanity's leading expert on xenobiology and genetic analysis. For months, she had been studying data that her team had collected from across the galaxy. "Minister Lee," she said into her communication device, "I need to speak with you immediately. My research has uncovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about human origins." Minister So-Young Lee, who now served as humanity's chief science advisor, arrived at the laboratory within an hour. Dr. Shin's face was pale, with excitement and disbelief. "Minister, you need to see this genetic analysis. I've been comparing human DNA with samples from every known species in the galaxy. The results are impossible to ignore." Dr. Shin activated a holographic display, showing complex genetic structures. "Human DNA contains sequences that appear in every intelligent species we've encountered. But here's the critical discovery. Humans have the complete sequences, while other species only have fragments. What does that mean? Minister Lee asked. It means that humans aren't just another species that evolved naturally. We're the descendants of the precursors, the ancient race that seeded the galaxy with intelligent life millions of years ago. Every other species is essentially our distant offspring. Minister Lee stared at the genetic data in shock. Are you certain about this? I've run the analysis hundreds of times. The evidence is overwhelming. Humans carry the complete precursor, genome, while other species have only partial genetic inheritance. We're not the primitive newcomers that the Council believes us to be. We're the return of the galaxy's original masters. But why didn't we know this before? Why don't we have ancient memories or lost technologies? Dr. Shin manipulated the display to show brain scan data. The precursors engineered genetic locks into their descendants. These locks suppress advanced abilities until certain conditions are met. I believe that our recent technological breakthroughs, combined with the stress of Council oppression, have begun triggering these genetic activations. The phase drive technology isn't something we invented, she continued. It's something we remembered. Our scientists have been unconsciously accessing inherited memories from our precursor ancestors. Minister Lee realized the implications immediately. If this, 6 months after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, the galaxy was falling apart. President Jae Sung-kang stood in his office on Earth, watching news reports from across known space. Every screen showed the same story. Economic collapse, political chaos, and growing desperation among the Council species. Sir, said his aide, the latest reports are in. The Rigelian Commercial Union has declared bankruptcy. 3 more star systems have petitioned to leave the Council. Food riots are reported on 12 core worlds. President Kang nodded grimly. This was exactly what humanity's economists had predicted. For 30 years, humans had become the invisible backbone of galactic civilization. They had coordinated trade routes, maintained communication networks, and provided the technical expertise that kept everything running. The Council had never realized how dependent they had become on human services. They thought humans were just another member species paying tribute for the privilege of Council protection. They hadn't understood that humans were actually the ones holding their civilization together. What's the status of the shipping networks? President Kang asked. Completely collapsed in 17 sectors. The Altarians are trying to take over human routes, but they don't understand the coordination algorithms. Ships are arriving weeks late or going to completely wrong destinations. President Kang smiled without humor. Human logistics specialists had spent decades creating a shipping system that maximized efficiency across thousands of star systems. The algorithms were incredibly complex, requiring constant adjustment for political changes, economic fluctuations, and even seasonal variations on different worlds. The other species had never bothered to learn how the system worked. They had just expected humans to keep it running forever. Any word from the Council? President Kang asked. Several species have requested negotiation meetings. The Zentorians offered to restore our mining rights if we return to the Council. The Rigelians are offering trade concessions. And our response? Minister Han sent the same reply to all of them. The Terran Federation doesn't negotiate with the Galactic Council. They can submit formal diplomatic requests through proper channels, but we don't recognize their authority over human affairs. President Kang turned away from the news screens. The economic pressure was working exactly as planned, but it was only the beginning. Humanity had prepared much more than just economic disruption. Commander Haiwan Park crouched in the shadows of a Zentorian power plant on the industrial world of Kepler Prime. Around her, 5 other human soldiers moved like ghosts through the facility's security systems. Their phase generator suits made them completely invisible to conventional sensors. Team leader to all units, she whispered into her communicator. Target the main power coupling in 60 seconds. Remember, we're not here to destroy anything, we just want to make it unreliable. The mission was part of Operation Chaos, a coordinated campaign of sabotage across Council space. Human infiltration teams were targeting key infrastructure on dozens of worlds, but their goals were carefully limited. They didn't want to hurt civilians or cause permanent damage. They just wanted to make the Council's territory as unstable and unpredictable as possible. Commander Park reached the power coupling and attached a small device, no bigger than her thumb. The device would randomly interrupt power flow at irregular intervals, causing blackouts that lasted anywhere from minutes to hours. The interruptions would be impossible to predict and difficult to prevent. "Device planted," she reported. "All teams, execute and withdraw." Within minutes, similar devices were activated across the power plant. The human team vanished into the night, leaving no trace of their presence. By morning, Kepler Prime would be experiencing mysterious power failures that would puzzle technicians for months. The same pattern was repeated on hundreds of worlds. Human teams appeared without warning, sabotaged critical systems, and disappeared before anyone could respond. They targeted power plants, communication relays, transportation hubs, and manufacturing facilities. The sabotage was carefully designed to be disruptive rather than destructive. Systems would malfunction instead of breaking completely. Equipment would work most of the time but fail at random intervals. The psychological effect was devastating. Council species began to lose confidence in their own infrastructure. Engineers couldn't guarantee that critical systems would work when needed. Military commanders couldn't trust their equipment during important operations. Citizens started hoarding supplies in case of unexpected failures. Dr. Young-Soo Lim was leading humanity's most advanced research project on the secret base hidden in the asteroid belt around Sol. His team was pushing the boundaries of quantum manipulation technology far beyond what the Council thought possible. "Professor," said his assistant, "the test is ready. Shall we proceed?" Dr. Lim nodded. In front of them was a standard iron asteroid, roughly the size of a small building. It was identical to millions of other asteroids floating through space. But in the next few minutes, it would become something unprecedented. "Activate the quantum field generators," Dr. Lim ordered. Invisible energy fields surrounded the asteroid. On molecular scanners, the research team watched as the atomic structure of the iron began to change. Carbon atoms appeared where none had existed before. Silicon and other elements materialized out of empty space. Within 10 minutes, the iron asteroid had been transformed into a fully functional spacecraft, not built from iron, but actually converted at the atomic level into hull plating, computer systems, weapons, and life support equipment. "Successful transformation confirmed," reported the scanning technician. "The asteroid is now a fully operational frigate-class vessel. All systems are online and ready for use." Dr. Lim stared at their achievement with a mixture of pride and fear. Humanity had learned to manipulate matter at the fundamental level. They could turn rocks into starships, poison into medicine, or empty space into solid materials. The implications were staggering. "How long did the conversion take?" he asked. 9 minutes and 37 seconds, Professor. "We could probably reduce that to under 5 minutes with practice." This meant that humanity could create entire fleets from asteroid fields. They could build space stations from cosmic dust. They could even create food and air from basic elements if necessary. The economic and military advantages were overwhelming. "Professor," said another technician, "we're receiving an urgent communication from Earth. President Kang wants a full report on our capabilities." Dr. Lim understood why. The Council was starting to realize that something was seriously wrong. Their spies and intelligence networks were reporting impossible things. Human technology seemed to advance every day, while Council science remained stagnant. More importantly, Council leaders were beginning to suspect that humans might have capabilities far beyond what they had revealed. The phase drive technology was impressive, but it was just the beginning. Ambassador Mi Kyung-cho received the Council delegation in the neutral system of Vega Prime. 3 species had sent representatives to attempt negotiations with humanity. They sat across from her at a polished conference table, looking nervous and uncomfortable. "Ambassador Cho," began the Zentorian representative, "the Council is prepared to offer significant concessions in exchange for humanity's return to membership. We can restore your mining rights, increase your voting power, and provide preferential trade status." Ambassador Cho smiled politely. "That's very generous. But the Terran Federation is no longer interested in council membership. We prefer our current independence. The Altarian representative, a younger officer named Kexdon, leaned forward aggressively. Your independence is causing serious problems throughout the galaxy. Trade routes are collapsing, economies are failing, and people are suffering. You have a responsibility to help maintain galactic stability. Do we? Ambassador Cho asked calmly. For 30 years, the Council told us that we were junior partners who should be grateful for any consideration. You made it clear that our opinions didn't matter and our contributions weren't appreciated. Now you want us to take responsibility for galactic stability. The Rigelian representative, an elderly diplomat named Vorthek, tried a different approach. Ambassador, surely we can find some compromise. The current situation benefits no one. Perhaps humanity could return to the Council with enhanced status and increased autonomy. Enhanced status, Ambassador Cho repeated thoughtfully. What exactly would that mean? Full voting rights equal to any founding member species. Guaranteed representation on all major committees. Permanent seats on the Council's executive board. And in exchange? Humanity would resume its previous responsibilities. Trade coordination, technical support, military cooperation. The galaxy needs human expertise to function properly. Ambassador Cho stood up from the table. Gentlemen, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding. You seem to believe that humanity wants to return to the Council under better terms. That's not the case. She walked to the conference room window which looked out over the neutral space station where they were meeting. The Terran Federation has no interest in joining any organization that we don't control completely. We're not looking for enhanced status within the Council. We're looking to replace the Council entirely. The three alien. The war began exactly 1 year after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The Altarian Empire, growing desperate as their economy collapsed, decided that the only solution was to force humanity back into submission through military action. Admiral Sung-Ho Kim received the alert at Luna Base while reviewing fleet deployment schedules. His aide burst into the command center with urgent news. Admiral, we're detecting a massive Altarian fleet approaching the new Busan system, 300 ships, including their newest dreadnoughts. They're demanding immediate surrender of all human colonies in that sector. Admiral Kim had been expecting this moment for months. Intelligence reports had shown Altarian military preparations for weeks. The humans were ready. Sound general quarters throughout the fleet, he ordered. Implement Defense Plan Sigma. All ships are to engage phase drive protocols and converge on New Busan immediately. The Altarian Third Fleet was the pride of their military. Commander Thexvar, who had been promoted after his humiliating encounter with the Independents, led the invasion force with confidence. He commanded the most powerful warships in Council space, equipped with weapons that could destroy entire planets. All ships, maintain formation, he broadcast to his fleet. Human colonists in the new Busan system have 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. After that time, we will begin bombardment operations. The human colony of New Busan was home to 12 million people. It was also one of humanity's most important industrial centers, producing advanced electronics and starship components. The Altarians had chosen their target carefully, believing that threatening civilians would force humanity to negotiate. They were wrong. Admiral Kim's fleet arrived in the New Busan system 18 hours before the Altarian deadline expired. 47 human warships took position between the enemy fleet and the colony world. On paper, the humans were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Human Fleet Commander, came Thexvar's transmission. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. Your ships cannot stand against the might of the Altarian Empire. Surrender now and your crews will be treated as prisoners of war. Admiral Kim responded calmly. Commander Thexvar, this is Admiral Sung-Ho Kim of the Terran Federation Navy. You are in violation of human territorial space. Withdraw your forces immediately or face the consequences. Consequences? Thexvar laughed harshly. Human, you have 47 ships. I have 300. Your phase drive technology might make you difficult to hit, but it won't save you from concentrated firepower. Commander, you're operating under outdated information. The Terran Federation Navy has made significant advances since our last encounter. Admiral Kim turned to his tactical officer. Begin combat operations. Activate probability engine protocols. All ships are authorized to engage enemy forces. The Altarian fleet opened fire first, sending thousands of energy beams and missiles toward the human ships. But instead of simply phasing out of normal space-time, the human vessels did something completely unexpected. They began to predict the future. Lieutenant Junho Kang, serving as tactical coordinator aboard the flagship TFS Liberty, had undergone genetic activation 3 months earlier. His enhanced mental abilities allowed him to process combat data at superhuman speeds and calculate probable outcomes for every possible action. "Admiral," he reported, "probability analysis complete, displaying optimal combat pattern on main screen." The tactical display showed the positions of all enemy ships, along with projected movement patterns, weapon targeting solutions, and damage assessments. But it also showed something more: the most likely outcomes of the battle based on various human responses. "Fascinating," Admiral Kim murmured. "Lieutenant, implement Solution Alpha 7. The human fleet split into 7 smaller groups, each moving in patterns that seemed random to the Altarian observers. But every movement had been precisely calculated to maximize damage while minimizing risk. Human ships phased in and out of normal space at exactly the right moments to avoid enemy fire. Their own weapons struck Altarian vessels at the optimal angles to penetrate shields and armor. Within minutes, 12 enemy ships had been destroyed without a single human casualty. "Impossible!" Thexvar screamed over the communication channel. "How are you predicting our movements?" "Science, Commander," Admiral Kim replied. "We've learned to calculate probability on a quantum level. Your tactical decisions are limited by physics and psychology. Once we understand those limitations, your actions become predictable." The battle continued for 3 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human ships moved like ghosts through the Altarian formation, striking with impossible precision while remaining untouchable. Enemy commanders found their weapons firing at empty space while human attack patterns seemed to anticipate every defensive maneuver. By the end of the engagement, the entire Altarian Third Fleet had been destroyed. 300 of the Council's most advanced warships had been reduced to debris and escape pods. The human fleet had suffered no losses and minimal damage. All Altarian survivors will be rescued and returned to Council space, Admiral Kim announced. "Consider this a demonstration of Terran Federation military capabilities. Future incursions into human territory will not be met with such restraint." News of the Battle of New Busan spread across the galaxy within hours. The complete destruction of the Altarian Third Fleet sent shockwaves through the Council. For the first time, member species began to seriously question whether military action against humanity was wise. But the war was just beginning. General Hyojin Ryu commanded the ground assault on Harmony Station, a strategic outpost that the Council had seized shortly after humanity's withdrawal. The station controlled a major hyperspace junction, making it critical for interstellar travel in that region. "All units prepare for orbital insertion," she ordered. "Remember, we're not here to destroy the station. We need it intact and operational." The Zentorian garrison on Harmony Station consisted of 5,000 elite troops, supported by automated defense systems and heavy artillery. They had months to prepare for a possible human attack, and their commander was confident that the station was impregnable. General Ryu's assault force consisted of only 800 soldiers, but they had advantages that no Council species understood. Dr. Yansu Park was one of those soldiers. 3 days earlier, she had been a civilian quantum physicist, but when her genetic activation manifested, she had volunteered for military service. Her ability to manipulate matter at the subatomic level made her a weapon of unprecedented power. "Dr. Park," General Ryu spoke into her communicator, "please demonstrate your capabilities for the enemy garrison." Dr. Park stood on the hull of the assault ship, protected only by a standard spacesuit. She faced the massive defense batteries of Harmony Station and raised her hands. To the Zentorian defenders, it looked like a single human woman preparing to attack their fortress with her bare hands. The station's weapons opened fire. Dozens of energy beams streaked toward the human ship. But as they approached Dr. Park, the beams simply ceased to exist. She was manipulating the quantum structure of the energy itself, converting coherent photons back into random electromagnetic radiation. "Weapons ineffective," reported the Zentarian weapons officer. "The energy is being dispersed somehow." "All batteries concentrate fire on the human ship," ordered Station Commander Velcris. The defensive response was exactly what Dr. Park had been waiting for. She gestured toward the station's main gun battery, and the defenders watched in horror as their weapons began to malfunction. Metal components spontaneously transmuted into other elements. Power conduits turned into glass. Ammunition magazines became inert gas. Within minutes, every weapon on Harmony Station had been rendered useless through quantum manipulation. "Impossible," whispered Commander Velcris. "How can one person destroy our entire defensive grid?" General Ryu's voice came over the communication channel. "Commander, the Terran Federation possesses capabilities that your species cannot comprehend. Surrender the station now, and your personnel will be safely evacuated to Council space." "Never," Velcris responded. "We'll fight you hand to hand if necessary." "As you wish, Commander." The human assault force landed on Harmony Station using personal phase generators that allowed them to walk through solid walls. Zentarian defenders found themselves facing enemies who could appear anywhere, strike without warning, and vanish before retaliation was possible. But the most devastating aspect of the assault wasn't the phase technology. It was the humans' ability to manipulate their environment in real time. Corporal Minjun Seo had developed the ability to alter gravitational fields in localized areas. When Zentarian troops tried to take cover behind barricades, he simply reversed gravity around their positions, sending them floating helplessly toward the ceiling. Sergeant Da-Un Park could make solid walls permeable while keeping them structurally sound. Enemy fortifications became useless when human soldiers could simply walk through them. Private Hyun-Soo Lee had learned to manipulate electromagnetic fields. Enemy communication systems failed when he was nearby. Electronic weapons stopped working. Even artificial lighting would flicker and die in his presence. The Zentorian garrison fought bravely, but they were facing opponents who seemed to violate the laws of. 5 years had passed since the Council's defeat, and the galaxy was unrecognizable. Premier In-Ho Kang stood in the new assembly hall on New Earth, watching representatives from over 200 species take their seats for the daily session. The building itself was a marvel of human engineering, combining the beauty of the old council chambers with practical improvements that actually served the needs of galactic governance. Unlike the rigid hierarchy of the council, the assembly was arranged in concentric circles where every species sat as equals. There were no elevated platforms for senior members, no special privileges based on age or military power. Every voice carried the same weight in deliberations. "The Assembly recognizes the representative from the Kepler Federation," announced Assembly Coordinator Soo-Jin Woo, a former diplomat who now managed the complex process of interspecies democracy. Ambassador Meltara of Kepler stood to address the Assembly. She was one of hundreds of aliens who had learned to work within the human system of government. "Honored colleagues, I bring news of successful cooperation between Kepler agricultural worlds and Terran manufacturing centers. Our joint food production program has eliminated hunger on 47 member worlds. The achievement was typical of the new galactic civilization. Instead of competing for resources, member species were learning to cooperate for mutual benefit. Human technology and organizational skills combined with alien knowledge and resources had created an unprecedented era of prosperity." Premier Kang smiled as he listened to the reports. The transformation hadn't been easy, but it had been worth the effort. The old council system had been based on fear and oppression. The new federation was built on cooperation and shared benefit. Admiral Bo-Ram Lee entered the Premier's private office during a recess in the assembly session. She commanded the Federation Defense Force, which had grown into the largest military organization in galactic history. But unlike the Council's military, it existed to protect rather than oppress. "Premier, we've received word from the outer Rim territories. The last Council Loyalist stronghold has agreed to surrender." Admiral Korvex of the Altarian Remnant Fleet is requesting terms for peaceful integration into Federation space. Premier Kang nodded thoughtfully. The final holdouts had been Altarian military units who refused to accept the new order. For 3 years they had conducted guerrilla operations from hidden bases in unexplored space, but isolation and dwindling resources had finally forced them to seek terms. "What are they offering?" he asked. "Complete surrender of all military assets, acknowledgement of Federation authority, and cooperation in tracking down any remaining criminal elements from the old regime. In exchange, they want amnesty for their soldiers and integration assistance for their civilian populations." "Agreed," Premier Kang said without hesitation. "The Federation doesn't seek revenge, we want peace and cooperation." This attitude had been crucial to humanity's success in rebuilding galactic civilization. Unlike conquerors throughout history, humans had shown genuine interest in helping their former enemies. Council species that expected punishment and oppression instead found opportunities for partnership and growth. Governor Kyunghwan Nam had spent 3 years managing this integration process. His office on the former council world of Rigel Prime coordinated refugee assistance, economic development, and cultural exchange programs that helped displaced populations adapt to the new order. "Governor," his assistant reported, "the latest refugee integration statistics are encouraging. 93% of council refugees have found employment in Federation territories. Education programs have helped over 2 million individuals learn new skills. Crime rates in refugee communities are actually lower than in many established settlements." Governor Nam found these results remarkable but not surprising. The old council system had created artificial scarcity and competition that forced species to fight over limited opportunities. The Federation's abundance-based economy eliminated most of the traditional causes of conflict. "What about the remaining holdout populations?" he asked. "Still about 50,000 Zentaurians and Altarians who refuse Federation assistance. They're maintaining their own settlements on the border worlds, but they're not causing any problems. They seem to be waiting to see how things develop." "Let them wait," Governor Nam replied. "Eventually they'll realize that cooperation serves their interests better than isolation." The transformation of galactic society wasn't just political and economic. Dr. Da-eun Kim was leading the most ambitious scientific cooperation project in recorded history. Her research teams included scientists from over 40 species, working together to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Dr. Kim, her research coordinator, reported, "The joint expedition to the galactic core has made a breakthrough. The combined human quantum manipulation technology and Rigellan sensor arrays have detected artificial structures in the central black hole region." Dr. Kim looked up from her calculations in excitement. "Artificial structures? Are we talking about precursor technology?" "It appears so. The energy signatures match theoretical models for precursor engineering. We may have found the source of the galaxy's original civilization." This discovery was the culmination of years of cooperative research. Human genetic memories had provided clues about precursor technology, but it took alien expertise in deep space exploration to actually locate the ancient artifacts. No single species could have made this discovery alone. "Prepare a full expedition," Dr. Kim ordered. This could be the key to understanding not just human origins, but the purpose behind the galaxy's original design. The social changes were equally dramatic. Former Council Speaker Veltara now served as Federation Ambassador to the Altarian Remnant States. The position would have been unthinkable under the old system, where former enemies were never trusted with important responsibilities. "Ambassador Veltara," her aide announced, "you have a message from Premier Kang. He's inviting you to speak at the 5th anniversary celebration of Galactic Liberation Day." Veltara accepted the invitation with complex emotions. 5 years ago, she had been humanity's greatest opponent in the council chambers. Today, she was one of their most trusted diplomatic representatives. The transformation said something profound about human nature. Her speech on Liberation Day would be broadcast across the galaxy, reaching billions of sentient beings who had lived through the transition from council oppression to Federation cooperation. "My fellow citizens of the galaxy," she began, standing before the same assembly that had once scorned human participation. 5 years ago, I made the greatest mistake of my political career. I dismissed humanity as violent and unpredictable, unworthy of equal treatment in galactic affairs. I was wrong about their violence. Humans are not more violent than other species. They are simply more willing to fight for justice than most of us. When faced with oppression, they don't submit. They resist. When confronted with injustice, they don't adapt. They fight to change it. I was wrong about their unpredictability. Human actions are actually quite predictable if you understand their values. They value freedom over security, cooperation over dominance, and fairness over advantage. Once you accept these principles, human behavior becomes entirely logical. But most importantly, I was wrong about their capacity for forgiveness. The human leadership could have chosen revenge after their victory. They could have imposed the same oppressive system that the Council used against them. Instead, they chose to build something better. Veltara paused to look around the assembly chamber, filled with representatives from species that had been enemies just years before. The humans taught us that strength without justice is merely tyranny. They showed us that cooperation produces better results than competition. And they proved that even ancient enemies can become trusted allies. The Council's greatest error wasn't underestimating human technology or military capability. Our greatest error was failing to recognize human character. We thought they were just another species seeking advantage in a competitive galaxy. We didn't understand that they were actually trying to build a civilization worth living in. The speech was met with unanimous approval from the assembly. It perfectly captured the transformation that had taken place across the galaxy. Counselor Jun-Sik Oh, now serving as Federation Chief Diplomat, met with the last holdout council representatives. In a final attempt at reconciliation, the meeting took place on the neutral world of Harmony Station, which had been converted from a military outpost into a center for diplomatic cooperation. Counselor Oh, said the Zentarian representative, our people are still not ready to accept human leadership. Too much has changed too quickly. We need time to understand this new order. I understand your concerns, Counselor Oh replied patiently. But you're thinking about this incorrectly. The Federation isn't about human leadership. It's about cooperative leadership. Humans didn't replace the Council with another hierarchy. We replaced it with a partnership. But humans control the most advanced technology and the largest military force, protested the Altarian representative. How can you claim this is an equal partnership? Because we use that technology and military power to protect and assist other species, not to dominate them. Yes, humans currently have advantage.